Hello everybody, it is I, Wellsworth Workshop, and today I'm going to be talking about how I made my...
No, you're not! Well, hello everybody, it's me, James!
Hello, James.
Oh boy, I hope you're making a video about me, not that clanky old iron in the background.
What the fuck? Said Edward.
Alright everyone, here is my Gauge 1 James. Since he's PLA printed, I guess this is what he looks like now. James started as a PLA print, boo-hoo, measured from the prop itself. He went through many hours of raw sanding. His tender was printed in two halves, much like the original prop, as the tender's kind of like a sandwich and sandwiches together. This thing was also sanded to hell and back many times. James's front buffer beam was fitted with a rear BR78 buffer beam, much like the original prop. His tender also uses a BR55 tender buffer beam, much like Edward. Whilst everything else was being worked on, an iMac was constructed. Here is an original video of the very first iMac test. As a quick side note, all four of my James faces are original TV series casts. With James's body shell being relatively smooth, it was time to spray him with his first coat of primer. The tender also went through a coat of primer and two complete repaints. What had happened was the original paint, crumpled up. It's hard to explain, I don't have the original photo anymore, but the paint got messed up, so it had to be sanded down and repainted all over again. James's body shell had a bit more work to do than the tender, so the tender remained the only thing red for quite some time. A cab backhead was constructed using the top half of a Markham BR55 cab control with styrene. It was based off the original prop as seen in this photo. During the entire build process of James, he sat around for quite some time as more projects were taking up more time, like Percy and Edward. Here he was put on top of a Mark I Thomas chassis just for fun. I don't have much to say until we get to the paint process, but here's some fun photos of James taken during the build process. Soon paint begun, starting with the running board and James's smoke box. Next, his footplate, smoke box, cab roof, and dome were taped over and the red was applied. After the proper amount of time to dry, the tape was removed and James was looking splendid. Soon, James's lining was applied and he was pretty much done for the most part until his chassis arrived. James's chassis uses a BR55, much like Edward, Thomas, Duck, Donald, and Douglas. For those wondering, here's an uncut BR55 chassis underneath the James body shell. You can see a lot has to be done. Here's a comparison between my Edward chassis and an uncut BR55 chassis. I absolutely forgot to take photos during the cutting process, but here's the newly cut 55 chassis underneath James. The block, wheels, and bogey were all painted black, but the black paint ran out as I was painting it, so it didn't look clean and there were lots of red spots still exposed. 2 months later, yeah I know, 2 months, I stripped all of the paint down on the wheels and started repainting the entire thing. And that leaves James today. Thank you all so much for watching. This project's been fun. It's been a fun replica to make.